Hi, boys and girls, and this week's science lesson is going to be about how do people get food and water. So, up until now, we've been talking a little bit about plants and what they need in order to grow and survive, a little bit about animals, how we keep them healthy, how they get food and water, and now we're going to take a look at people. So, stop and think for a minute. Um, how are some ways that you in your house get food and water? Well, it's quite different for you than it is, say, a plant outside or a tree that grew or an animal in the wild or even a pet. But pets and people kind of rely on each other. I know when I was growing up, there were a lot of things that I wasn't able to do for myself. So my mom and my dad had to take care of me. Like, for example, if it was dinner time, I wouldn't be allowed to go make my own food for dinner, but they would have to cook for me in order for me to eat. Same happens with me taking care of Domino. I have to make his dish up in order for him to eat. But the ways that we get our food and our water might be different. Maybe right now, maybe you have groceries coming to your house. Someone delivers them to you. Or maybe someone in your house goes to the store and grocery shops. But I'm wondering, where do we get our food from? Let's see if we can find out. So if you have your science journal out and open, you can follow along with me. I'm at lesson 4, and there's a picture of, it looks like a dad and a child, and they're both sitting down at the table, and they're eating. They're eating and they're drinking. Let's find out. How nice. It looks like this family is sitting around the table together, and they're sharing a meal. I know that was one of my favorite times growing up, was sitting down to family meals. And, before everything happened, I would still be able to go and do that from time to time. So let's read. Lesson 4. What do people need? You are hungry. You are thirsty. What do you need to live and grow? What's this little boy doing? He's taking a sip from the water fountain. Water and food. Animals need water and food. People are animals. I'm just thinking aloud to myself. Did you know that people are animals too? And not an animal in the sense of we live out in the wild, but we need the same kind of nourishment just like animals do. We need food to give us energy and water to keep us hydrated. So people need food, but need water and food too. Let's see if we can name these animals. I bet you're an expert at this. This one goes oink oink. Did you guess a pig? You're right. Oh, and this one, moo. A cow, and cluck cluck cluck. A chicken, or maybe it's a hen. But what are some things that we get from these animals? Do you know what we get from a pig? We get pork. You're right, or bacon. From cows, we get our dairy, so that's milk and cheese. Do you know what other things are dairy? Yogurt with cottage cheese. We have ice cream. And we get eggs from chickens. Foods people eat. Where do people get their food? Some food comes from animals. Meats come from animals. So do milk, cheese, and eggs. Now I'm looking at this picture, and this little boy looks like he's picking, looks like berries off of a tree. And this little girl just picked carrots from a garden. Do all of our foods come from animals? No, some of them are plants. I'm getting ready to plant some in my garden. So hopefully I don't have to go grocery shopping as much for fresh produce. I can grow it in my garden. Some food comes from plants. Fruits come from plants. So do carrots, peas, and beans. Bread is made from plant seeds. It's very interesting. Sorting foods. It says, talk with a partner. What other foods do you eat? Do the foods come from plants or animals? Draw pictures of plants and animals people eat. So on this, you are going to think up some of the foods that you may have just eaten today or this week. And think for a moment, did it come from a plant or did it come from an animal? Let's say for breakfast, I had a bowl of cereal. Well, I poured milk into my cereal. Did that come from a plant or did that come from an animal? So the milk came from an animal. How about the cereal? The cereal is like a grain. Grain comes from a farm where they grow it. If you said plant, you're right. But how about if someone said that they had bacon and eggs for breakfast? Well, bacon is a meat, and we know our meat products come from animals. So bacon comes from animals. How about eggs? Well, if you remember from the page before, the chickens lay eggs. So that's also an animal. Think over some foods that you enjoy eating and see if you can sort them where they go. Next, what you'll do is label each food that you see pictured here with either a P for plant or A for animal. Is the food from a plant or is it from an animal? So the corn. Did corn come from growing it as a plant or getting it from an animal? They've done this one for you. So they labeled it P for plant because you can grow a plant, a corn plant. Actually, I'm planning to do that. And when I do plant in my garden, I'll share that with you. Next, they have an egg. And we know that eggs come from chickens. So that came from an animal. Your job is to label the carrot, this meat. It looks like, almost looks like with lamb. There's cheese and an apple. Go ahead and label them from where they came from. Did they come from a plant or did they come from an animal? And this one says, show what you learned. Work with a partner. Where does each food come from? Draw a line to connect the dots. So I would connect the milk. Where did the milk come from? Did milk come from grain? Did milk come from the cow? Or did milk come from the chicken? Or the grapes? Which one did it come from? If you said cow, you're correct. You would draw the line. These, if you can't tell, these are raisins. Has anyone ever seen what happens when you don't eat grapes fast enough and leave them to dry up? Well, raisins are dried out grapes. Then we have flour and eggs. Where did those come from? Once you've done that, you'll be all set and all done with your science for this week. Boys and girls, don't forget to share pictures of your finished work with me so I can see all the wonderful scientists that you are becoming. Good luck, and off you go, scientists.